There is a few questions that I want to address, and I go really briefly through them. So, how to educate more and better entrepreneurs from Europe? I don't believe that entrepreneurs can be educated. That's one thing. We can't top-down push entrepreneurs to become better entrepreneurs. What we can do is to create role models and inspire people, talk about the great successes we've had in Europe, and we have them in public, and to spark those guys to go further. So that's one thing, and I address the other things that I believe needs to be done in Europe in the other two questions. So, why is Silicon Valley different to Europe, and what actually happening there? I spent last 6 months with the teams, with startup sauna teams there, and I think it's not rocket science. The one thing that is different, that there is huge amount of experienced entrepreneurs in one region, and the other is that it gathers all the time the best talent from other regions, best engineering and scientist talent from the other regions. So it's a hub of extremely intelligent people. But alone, that's not enough. There is two other things that I think is very, very important. The other is the paying forward culture that is in Silicon Valley. Every entrepreneur, experienced or young, is willing to help back and give time for free and advice, because they understand that they were not successful without having someone helping them back. And that's something that we can all create in Europe. It's fairly easy. We just start to help and mentor and give back to our peers and the experienced entrepreneurs back. And the last one, which was addressed already, is the fear of failure. There is the craziest people in the world, and they are not afraid doing anything and go through the walls. And even they fail, they try again. Then they fail 10 times and they try again, and then they become successful. And that's something that we need to accept also, and it's very hard. And it's actually, when you think about it, that comes down to a lot of the challenges we have here. And what would I do if I would start a company right now in Europe? There is 3 things that I would do, and that's actually wrapping up also what Startup Sauna does. So I would go to a place where I'm surrounded by excited, crazy entrepreneurs, and a lot of them. And also, I would be surrounded by experienced investors, experienced entrepreneurs that are investors, and surrounded by innovative companies that are willing to partner and buy the startups in future or become the customers. And I think there is 3 special places in Europe at the moment, and more coming. London, of course, for VCs, Berlin, and of course Helsinki is becoming, with Angry Birds and with the fall of Nokia, there is a lot of talent and a lot of VC money coming in. And I would go out of the building as fast as I can, and as fast as I can go out to get feedback from Silicon Valley, from China, wherever your customers are. Go there and search for feedback. And then come back and build great companies in Europe. I think that's a great idea, but you need to understand what's going on in NHL of entrepreneurship and in different possibilities, because you're competing with them. And my advice to you is go out and change the world. It's all about that, and I believe if you can believe that you can do it, then it will happen. If you don't believe, if you don't reach to the stars, you never reach there. If you reach the moon, you will stay there. So reach the stars and go out to change the world. I think it's all possible, and it's all about you. So have a great time with your startups and create great businesses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kristo. You mentioned Steve Blank. If I were to read, or if you were to read just one book about how to start, conceptualize, and grow your company, choose Steve Blank, 4 Steps to Epiphany. This is the book to read. This will all just fit into the right model, how to integrate resources and think through the business model. I'm very glad that Steve collaborates with Sauna, Startup Sauna. So thank you for this presentation, and we will return to the question session after Amir's presentation, so prepare your questions. And Amir, you've started Students Entrepreneurs in Australia, so we can learn how in one of the most promising economies in the world for the next 10 years, you are trying to build the entrepreneurial ecosystem by building networks of entrepreneurs. Please take the floor.
Thank you. Dzień dobry. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. My name is Amir Nissen. I run a not-for-profit organisation promoting and supporting entrepreneurship to students in Australian universities. I'm going to share with you my passion for entrepreneurship and why I believe it is the entrepreneurs, society's change agents, that truly make the world go round. I'm going to talk about the why and when of entrepreneurship. And I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes, so if I suck, I won't suck for too long. Now, the image behind me is a blueprint for entrepreneurship. It looks relatively straightforward, but like the hieroglyphics of our cave-dwelling ancestors, it needs some explaining. Entrepreneurship starts with a problem. It's about solving a problem. The most successful, impactful, world-changing entrepreneurs set out to make meaning, not money. These might be problems in poverty and inequality, pollution, clean energy and climate change. They might be first world problems, like obesity, or better ways of sharing music. Regardless, it starts out solving a problem, and a problem you're passionate about. You need a vision, the ability to see the world, to see a world where your problem no longer exists. And in truth, the solution to most of these problems already exists. The printing press, invented in the 1440s by Gutenberg, one of the most world-changing devices in humankind. It was an adaptation of the screw press, a technology invented in the 1st century, some 1300 years earlier. Even after its invention, it took the best part of 200 years for the printing press to go around the world. A more modern example, the bionic eye. Research on this device started in the 1990s. In 2002, 6 people, some of whom had been blind for upwards of 30 years, were given the gift of sight. Not sight like you and I can see, but enough to make out light and dark, objects like doorways and people. But today, it's still at least 10 years from being widely available on the market. Many people think entrepreneurship is about a great idea, as if you just need a great idea and some work to make lots of success. It's actually about great insight. The idea is important in as much as it gets you to do something. But really, it's a process of iteration. Or in other words, do, fail, do. Entrepreneurship at its core is about doing. Success comes not to those who have the most resources, or who are the smartest, or who have the best contacts. It's those who can iterate the fastest to a solution. And entrepreneurship cannot be taught in the same way that football cannot be taught. You can read all the books about football and watch all the videos and get to hear the greatest players speak. But until you go out there and kick a football, you won't be any good. Entrepreneurship is much the same. Until you're out there and do something, you won't know. It's he who learns the fastest who wins in entrepreneurship. I'm going to share briefly with you my story of entrepreneurship, how I came into this. It was late 2006. I was halfway through a degree in business and arts, and I was looking for something to do with myself, an opportunity. I stumbled into a workshop on entrepreneurship, and the speaker was talking of the attributes of an entrepreneur and the characteristics. Every word he said resonated with me. It felt like I'd come home. But as I sat there, 2 thoughts came to mind. One, why was it in over 2 years of academic schooling in business, was I yet to hear entrepreneurship in my class? And 2, as I looked looked around the room and saw lots of suits and people from industry, where were all the other students? I come from a university of 40,000 students, and I did not believe that I was the only one interested in entrepreneurship. So I set about to do something. In 2007, I launched the Melbourne University Entrepreneurs Association, or MUA for short. I organised a guest speaker, a different guy, to talk about entrepreneurship. And 50 students showed up. In the following 2 weeks, I had coffee with over half of these people. Copious amounts of coffee, lots of meetings. And from those, recruited 8 peers to make a board. We were on track for 2,000 members by end of first semester and had a 3-year plan to be around the country. At the end of 2007, it was a disaster. Half those 8 graduated, the other half never spoke to me again. Like many, my notions of business were what I'd learned in class, read in books, and seen on TV. I thought startups were just really, really small versions of big business, with boards and titles. I learned a lot. In 2008, I started again, Student Entrepreneurs. This time, we grew organically. I took 1 person on board to help me, and we did as much work as we could until a 3rd came on, and then a 4th. To this date, we've raised awareness of entrepreneurship to thousands upon thousands of students around Australia. Mentored and advised dozens of student startups, and earlier this year we had our first exit. 3 of our students started a group buying website that was acquired by Groupon. I'm proud to say that since the beginning, we've never charged a single cent for students to participate in our programs. And now, I understand the problem a lot deeper than ever before. In Australia, entrepreneurship has an awareness problem. Across the country, there's only a handful of universities with courses or degrees in entrepreneurship. Also, there's a deep-seated fear of failure. We've heard that in the States, if you're an entrepreneur with a failed venture, you're more likely to get investment because of your experience. In Australia, failure is seen as a personal slight, something like there's something wrong with the entrepreneur. To this end, we've created the Aims to Change Entrepreneurship Program. It's a seed accelerator with a twist. But I'll leave it for questions if you want to know more. To complete the picture, depending on the problem you've chosen to solve, it might take 12 months, 3 to 5 years, or even 10 years plus. But if you're solving a real problem, worked hard, stay true to your vision, worked hard, iterated, and had some luck along the way, you might just be successful. Some examples. The late Steve Jobs, a visionary like few others, solved his own problem and believed that if you have to do market research, your product already sucks. Paul Graham, founder of Y Combinator, a master of iteration. For those of you that don't know, Y Combinator is a seed fund which invests a small amount of capital, around 20,000, for a small amount of equity in a startup, around 5%. In 2005, Y Combinator started as a summer program with 5 startups on board. Now, they take in over 60 startups twice a year. Their portfolio is valued in the billions, and have hundreds of copycats around the world. Malcolm Gladwell, author of The Tipping Point, Blink and Outliers, researched what it takes to make something great, to make something remarkable in a given field, and found that 10,000 hours, regardless of being a sports star or scientist, academic or entrepreneur, it takes 10,000 hours to do something truly revolutionary in your field. And Oprah, one of the most successful women on the planet, came from nothing to be where she is today. An entrepreneur needs to hustle, needs to fight to stay alive, and Oprah embodies that. And for mine, perhaps the greatest entrepreneur to have ever walked the earth, Thomas Edison. invented the modern light bulb, the first audio recording device and motion picture, held over 1,000 patents to his name. Unlike most inventors, Thomas Edison had the best reason why. He measured his success on the utility his inventions brought people, on the value created. He also understood when. 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. The value of doing. In inventing the light bulb, he never failed, but rather found 1,000 ways it didn't work. Throughout this conference, you'll hear the tips, tricks, and techniques to make a successful startup. If you take one thing away from today, or from this, it's that entrepreneurship is about doing. So do something. Thank you.
Thank you both for these very inspiring and great-looking presentations. I love the design. But let's take now the questions from the audience. Let's grill the entrepreneurs. Do we have a microphone? Okay, we have the microphone. There is a question up there. Would you be kind and there's another one. Oh, perfect.
Hello. Okay.
And please introduce yourself if you can.
My name is Chris Monahan, and I'm from the Climate Kick. I was wondering for the two gentlemen, what you could do to increase your capacity to help more entrepreneurs in your area, and why are you not doing that?
I'm not sure if I heard the question, so can you repeat it, please?
How can you increase your capacity to help more entrepreneurs? I mean, maybe you're doing 20, maybe you're doing 50. How can you do 200? And is that important to you, or what's your idea of how this can be more impactful?
So how to scale up what you're doing right now and link to other European hubs and global hubs?